Take control of your tax matters this filing season and ensure your compliance to help strengthen our country. Tax Matters in association with the South African Revenue Service. Employers have a significant responsibility when it comes to tax matters and compliance. Employer reconciliation helps companies to do just that. Employer reconciliation is a process in which an employer submits and reconciles their employee tax information and payments with the South African Revenue Service, or SARS as we have come to know it. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's start with an explanation of what employer reconciliation is and its link to taxes.
Employers are required by law to deduct or to withdraw tax from their employees, and they do that on a monthly basis. And that tax is expected to be paid to SARS. They are expected to pay that by the 7th of every month and also declare. At the end of the year, they would then do a reconciliation, which is reconciling the amounts that they have deducted, but also reconciling the tax certificates that they would have issued to their employees. So that relates to tax because it makes things easier for those that are employed to pay their taxes, because they don't really have to worry about when to pay tax and so on, because it's process that the employers would do on their behalf and pay it over to SARS.
What kind of payroll information would then need to be declared as employers reconcile all of this information and whatever it is that they withhold and pay to SARS?
The employers would have to deduct what we call pay-as-you-earn. They would also have to deduct the UIF, Unemployment Insurance Fund, as well as the Skills Development Levy. And then they would then pay that over to SARS on a monthly basis.
How would then SARS make sure that companies or employers are fulfilling these tax obligations?
It's a criminal act for the employer to deduct and not pay it over to SARS. There is an audit process that we conduct that ensures that the employer firstly has deducted the right amounts, but secondly that they have paid what they have deducted from their employees.
One would think with the tough economic climate, companies or employers are going to try and dodge these processes just so they can stay afloat or pay salaries, whatever the case may be. Have you found that that is a trend that has developed over the last 2-3 years? And are you finding that employers are coming to SARS to say, listen, we've got this issue, is there any way or alternative way that we can work with SARS to meet our requirements, but not in the way that we traditionally would have been able to?
The fact that the economic conditions are tough would affect everybody. So our approach is really to help, to support, to educate. And in some instances where things are really, really tough, and those we like to think that are exceptional circumstances where we would allow the employer, some terms in terms of how they pay what they have deducted. But we would really look at each case on its own merit because we really want to make sure that compliance levels are kept up.
What are some of the platforms that do exist for employers to be able to meet those obligations efficiently and timeously?
Employers can submit through EasyFile and also on e-filing. But for bulk employers that have a lot of employees, we would prefer that they go via EasyFile. Or if employers have less than 50 employees, they can go through e-filing and submit through that way. But both platforms are very, very user-friendly. We also have other ways in which we can be approached, either through the branch offices that we have throughout the country or through our contact center.
Thank you very much for those insights. Companies can't afford to have the taxman knocking on their doors, particularly in the current economic climate. If there are any discrepancies or errors in the employer's tax records, SARS may issue penalties or interest charges. It is therefore very important for employers to ensure that their tax records are accurate and up to date. Managing your tax submissions has never been easier. SARS is here to help you be tax compliant. Tax Matters in association with the South African Revenue Service.